Hi there. You're listening to Terry Telford from thebusinessprofessional.com, and we're very lucky to have someone who is an extraordinary marketing person, both online and offline. His name is Jeff Sands, and he's actually developed a direct marketing, direct mail business. He's been in the mail order business for 22 years, and he's built a list of over 500,000 people. But that's not even the most impressive part. The actual really impressive part is the 500,000 people are not just prospects, they're actually customers. So he has 500,000 customers on his list. Now, he's basically from the offline world, but he's also stepped into the online limelight, you could say. And he's got some very interesting stories and perspective about doing online business as opposed to working in the offline world. And today, Jeff's actually let me pick his brains for a little while and get kind of an insight into the world of direct mail, both from online and an offline perspective. So first of all, I'd like to say thank you very much for being with us here today, Jeff.
Well, the pleasure is all mine, and you're very, very welcome, Terry.
I appreciate it. Maybe we can start off with a bit of history about you. How did you where did you come from, and how did you get where you are today?
Well, actually, I was born in New York City, actually Brooklyn, New York, and went to school there, moved out to Long Island, which is around, a little further out of the city in the suburbs, and graduated high school, went to college, and went on to become a dentist. Practiced dentistry for about 15 years and really did not like what I was doing at all.
Oh.
I found it made me very nervous. It was very technical. It wasn't my orientation at all. And by the time I hit the age of 40 years old, I was a nervous wreck from practicing dentistry. And most people don't know it, but dentists have the highest suicide rate and the highest rate of depression of any profession.
Really?
And I suffered from both of those things. And I started one day, I came into my office, there was a piece of junk mail laying on my desk. And I opened it up, and it was really interesting. It was talking about starting a business at home that could make you some money. And it wasn't anything, but it really piqued my interest. It had a lot of benefits in there about how you could work from home, how you can earn money, how you could do it in a legitimate fashion. And for whatever reason, I signed up, and I bought the program. I forgot about it, and a few weeks later the program came in the mail, and I looked at it, and it wasn't something I would do. But it was something that was really creative and something where someone could really make money if they went and did this. And I was totally impressed. So I just kind of put it aside and forgot about it, but kept it in the back of my mind. Obviously, whoever I bought that from put me on some type of a mailing list, and I started to get some different mailers. A lot of the mailers I got were really junky, and I just tossed them. There were things like chain letters and things like that.
Right.
But one day I got a magazine in the mail, unsolicited. It was called Income Opportunities. And I looked through it, and I saw these ads over and over, full-page ads, one-inch ads, classified ads, advertising all these different business opportunities. So I started sending away for them, and I became a business opportunity junkie. And I really started to see. I figured out after a while, I was paying $10, $12 at the time, $25 was a lot of money, but I saw what these people had invested in a little book or a little piece of paper, or a few sheets of paper, and some of the ideas were wonderful. Most of the ideas weren't, but some of them were. And it just started to interest me, and creative writing was always my forte. When I was in school, I never really paid much attention to punctuation or spelling. Now, with computers, it's so great with spell check and all that, I look like $1 million. But I used to write compositions, and my teachers used to send them back to me all marked up with misspellings and everything, and on the top it would say A++. Wow. And they would say to me, wow, you're some writer. You ought to go into writing. And I never really gave it much thought. But I always was able to write great letters to convince people of things. Like one time the IRS, for example, gave me a late fee of $5,000 told me I filed something late when I didn't know any taxes. I went to a couple of different accountants, and they all said this, and they said that, and you can't fight it, and it's difficult. So I went home, and I wrote a letter. And I wrote the letter carefully. I went over it. It took me a while. But as soon as the IRS got the letter, they apologized for the $5,000 refund. So I have...
you got the IRS to reverse a charge against you.
Yeah. I explained it to them logically.
Yeah.
Explained exactly what happened in a very logical, sensible, non-confrontational way. And they responded to me in a nice way. And I have a way about me that allows me to really go through life very easily because I treat people very fairly and I know how to express myself to people. And I learned one of my philosophies is to treat everyone like they're a long-lost friend. Cool. And if you do that, even in your writing or even when you meet someone and speak to them, you're going to go real far in this world because people always want a friendly face, people want recognition, and that's what people don't get. So I always used those things. In my dental practice, I was a very successful dentist because I was a great communicator, but I just didn't like the idea of doing the physical task of being a dentist. It made me very nervous.
So what was the next step for you then? I mean, you got a lot of different junk mail in, filling up your post office box.
I decided to look into certain things, and I heard I wanted to start doing things to kind of help the universe instead of just take money out of it. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that there were a lot of credit repair things going on. And at the time, I had gotten divorced, and my credit wasn't so good. So I decided to look into what credit repair is and credit repair isn't. And I read all these books and everything else, and I went to an attorney, and I said to the attorney, what's with these credit repair services? What can they do? What can't they do? Well, she explained it to me. And I said to her, would you write a book on that for me? Or outline it for me? And we did. She outlined it for me, and then I wrote the book myself.
Wow.
Then I wrote a sales letter to sell the book, and I tested it, and it really worked. I was selling those books like crazy. So I said, gee, I want to do things a little bit different. And I made this a very part of my career. Most of my career, most of my programs are based on having affiliates or distributors doing the work for me. So I advertised this program as a no-nonsense way to $500 a day. And I sold them the whole program. They got the sales letter. They got reprint rights to the book. And they were able to go out then and sell the book. Also, brand my name as things were going on.
Now, just to interrupt for a second, when is all this happening? Is this like...
This is in the late 80s.
Late 80s?
Yeah, 86, 87.
Okay, so you're doing stuff back in the 80s that's actually just surfaced now online on the internet marketing scene as kind of the new thing. Well, I shouldn't say new thing. It's been around for about 2 or 3 years, but I mean resale rights and private label rights and whatnot now in the internet marketing scene is just, I mean, that's
right. I was really the first one to do it that I know of.
Isn't that cool? And this is all offline.
Yeah, and it was all offline. Then I decided that I was collecting a lot of names on my mailing list that I would offer distributorship to people who could sell my names for me and get a good part of the profits.
Right.
So that was the next program I developed. And it was the how to turn your junk mail into cash kind of thing. And I had many different variations of it, and it was also very successful.
And how did that work? What was the process there?
Basically, they would mail out the flyers with a cover letter that I would give them. Mm-hmm. They would collect the orders from the list. They would keep half the money, send me the other half along with shipping and handling, and I would drop ship under their label the names of their customer.
All right.
This became a giant part of my business because our names are very excellent because they're all buyers. And usually the average person, in this country, if they want to go to a list broker and buy names, they have to buy a minimum of $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay.
The average guy goes to a magazine, and in that magazine they see these names for, 1,000 names, $20, and will triple your first order free. These names are less than 30 days old.
Uh-huh.
Well, I found out, interestingly enough, a guy once called me and said, I'd be glad to pay you 10 cents for all your names that you use. if you give them to me. Well, that's just a whole chunk of money. If at that time I was doing 20,000 names a month.
Wow.
And I'm saying, God, a guy will give me 10 cents each. That kind of adds up. So I started selling them. Meantime, he was getting them when they were a year old from me and selling them as new because, less than 30 days because he just got them.
Because he just bought them.
And then I said, there's a hole in the market here, and I think I'm going to fill it. So I stopped doing that, and that's when I led to my distributorship. I said, now let the average guy who's doing a little MLM program or something get the same quality names as someone would have to go to a list broker for, and they, buy 3,000 to 5,000. This guy could never do it.
Right.
So my dealers sold names as few as 100 names.
Wow.
So some average guy can go into an MLM program and actually be successful. And I have people who are still with me today using my name from 1986, 87, 88 till now.
Wow.
And that's how successful. And if you were to call my list broker, which is Macro Mark Incorporated, and my list broker's name is Stephen Keith, they're the largest list broker in the United States, and ask him to name the top 3 lists, he would name Jeff Sands' list, which we call the mail order marketplace. That used to be the name of my company for over 20 years. Till we moved to Florida, would be one of the top 3 he mentions, I guarantee it.
Fantastic.
So we've always prided ourselves in that.
So is your business then more a list broking business, or are you actually selling products then to the people?
No, we're also selling a lot of products as well. There's many, many streams of income that we have. We're involved in multi-level marketing. We're also involved in writing books and publishing books. And the books that we publish are from real people doing real things, making real money. So, for example, I met a guy in New York who was making money taking pictures. And he had an unbelievable system of making money taking pictures. And he explained the business to me. When he explained the business to me, I nearly lost my mind. So I asked him I said, this is the greatest business on earth. You could start it with nothing but a camera. And you don't even have to know how to take pictures. And he said, yeah. His pen name is Mike Mansfield. It's a book. It's called Easy Photo Cash. You could find it at easyphotocash.com. This book has been selling since 1987 and never stopped being a top seller because that's how good the program is and how many people really love it. We also publish anything that I hear that a real person does, I go out and do. I met a guy where I used to live. He was dressed in overalls at the bank, and one day he came into the bank. And he asked the lady a question at the bank, and the lady said, listen, you have to get to the end of the line. So the guy walked up to the next teller and withdrew $3 million from the bank and said, I'm putting it in another account. So you can't always judge a book by its cover. I walked over to him and I said, hi. I introduced, my name is Jeff Sands, and he told me his name. And we kind of became friends. I said, what do you do? He says, I'm a carpet layer. I said, oh, really? He says, yeah, but my real business is real estate. I said, oh, really? What do you mean? He says, well, I have a way to sell real estate. That's just a little bit different than the average person. I said, would you tell me about it? He said, I'd be glad to. So he and I became really good friends. And he told me every little single thing that he did about selling real estate. I interviewed him. I put it all down on tape. I said to him, listen, we'll split a percentage. I'll publish your story, and we'll do your real estate course. And how about that? And he said, great. And we've been selling that course for the last 9 years. And it never gets outdated. It's a fantastic way of selling real estate. And so that's one of the products that we offer as well. And
do you have that online as well, or is that strictly offline?
That's online as well. It's called The Missing Factor.
TheMissingFactor.com?
A lot of people miss in buying real estate, and it's TheMissingFactor.com. You can find the offer. Cool. It's really a good one.
Now, what do you do if we take a specific product? Let's take the Missing Factor, for example. Is it an e-book, or is it a physical product?
No, it's a physical. Most of my products are physical products.
Okay.
I have one downloadable e-book, two actually. The Easy Photo Cash is one, And I also suffered from gout a few years ago.
Right.
And I went to the doctor, and they gave me all kinds of medications that made me feel really worse than the whole disease. So I went out and I looked for some kind of help I can get naturally and found it. So I started a website called goutbusters.com.
Right.
Instead of Ghostbusters, Goutbusters. It's been unbelievable. The reason I made that downloadable, I sell it as a downloadable, and then I send them the physical product as well, is because they're suffering and they need instant relief.
Right.
And they want instant gratification. So I find that selling them that downloadable product and then getting them on my newsletter and then mailing them the physical product is really good. I found that there's two sides on the Internet, and downloadable products are good and bad. I found a very high refund rate with some of them. Mm-hmm. They say they couldn't download it, they couldn't read it, they couldn't do it. I never had an outrageous refund rate, but since I've been sending the physical product along with the download, refunds are at practically zero, where they were at 1 or 2% before.
So whenever the people order, they know that they're going to get a download instantly, plus they're getting a book in the mail?
Correct.
Wow, that's a good system.
You know. And then I met another guy. I mean, I have my eyes all open all the time, and my ears are open all the time. I dabbled in eBay for a while because I wanted to write a book on eBay.
Uh-huh. Until
I found out there's so many books on eBay that, you know, I could go to eBay and learn about eBay, right?
Exactly.
But it was interesting. I wanted to sell a couple things, and I did. And I was so proud of myself. So I went to the post office, and I'm standing there. And there's a guy in the front of the line, and the post office is almost about to close. And he's arguing with the guy left and right. And everyone is waiting online, tapping their feet, going, oh, my God. And I'm saying to myself, I better get this out. I promised it to this guy. You know, I like to deliver whatever I promise when I promise. So the guy is screaming, listen, I sold this stuff on eBay, and I got to get it out today, and you got to put it in the box and get it ready and do it right now. And I hear the voice of a guy behind me going, that jerk is selling on eBay? I make a fortune buying on eBay, not selling it. And I just popped, my ears popped, and I turned around, and I see this guy sitting in a wheelchair. And I said, excuse me, can we talk? And he said, yeah. He said, well, the post office closed. We sat outside. I said, you make money selling on eBay? You mean buying? He says, yeah. He says, I know something on eBay you could buy for pennies and sell for hundreds of dollars. I said, would you tell me about it? He said, of course I'll tell you about it. And he told me about it. And I was amazed. I went home and I tried it out myself. And I did exactly what he told me. I went to the same spot he told me. I bought exactly what he told me. I sent out an email blast to my list, and I made over $6,000 the first day I tried it. I said, oh, my God.
This is something you bought on eBay?
Yeah, I bought 3 things on eBay, and I sold them. Not only that, I had a waiting list of people who wanted more. So it was a matter of just going back to eBay and following this guy's simple step-by-step instructions. So I said, now here we go. How do you make money, you know, buying, not selling on eBay?
Buying on eBay.
And we call it eBay in reverse. That became an international bestseller. It was like all over England, 50,000 books, all over Australia, all over Canada. Anywhere they spoke English, this book is being sold.
And this was a print product?
It's a print product. And it comes with a CD-ROM that offers some really cool bonuses. So this is how I get my material, from real people, from down-to-earth people, because in the old days, when I first came into the business, I noticed that there were pictures of guys with mansions, with their Rolls Royces, and all, talking down to people,
right,
telling them, send me $10 and I'll tell you how to make a millionaire. Here's my bank deposits. Yours are going to be the same. That doesn't really work. It doesn't cut it anymore. I mean, I don't know if it ever did. Maybe it did in those days. But now I find that if Joe tells his friend John that, hey, look, I just moved from my single-wide trailer to my double-wide, and I got my new truck, that's much more believable to the average person.
Right. Yeah.
So depending on who you're talking to and who your audience is, I like to talk to them from the person who is, actually doing it. So like this guy, Neil Hathaway, who had the eBay in reverse, if you read the sales copy for his letter, it's him talking. He actually gave me the sales copy. That guy was a funny man, and the sales copy is funny. And it's HathawaysSecret.com. It's
Hathaway?
actually humorous. Everybody, when I showed them the letter, they said, it breaks every rule in the mail-order internet world. You're not supposed to be funny. I said I couldn't help it. This guy was funny.
And what's it called? Hathaway's Secret?
Yes, HathawaysSecret.com.
Hathaway's E-Secret?
No, Hathaway's Secret.
Hathaway's Secret.
So that's still going, too.
So how do you go from creating now, you create the product then, you write the product, and then do you have a printer actually print the books, or do you print on demand, or how do you work that?
Well, we have a printer that prints the books, but I have a guy who's really good printing on demand right now.
Okay.
So he's always a couple of weeks ahead of me.
Okay.
And which is really helpful in terms of having, a whole lot of stuff on hand and all kinds of inventory. That's what I liked about the e-book, that you didn't need a whole lot of inventory. You didn't need any, and there was no cost. But I found there's also a ceiling on what you could charge certain people for certain e-books.
Right.
And a lot of the stuff I sell is way beyond that.
What kind of a pricing now are you looking at e-books? For example, for Gout Busters?
Gout Busters sells for $37.
And then what about The Missing Factor, for example?
Well, that's not an e-book.
Okay, and it's not available online?
No, it's not available online.
What about eBay in reverse?
That's not an e-book either.
Okay, give me an e-book in the business world that you sell online.
The only one is easyphotocash.com.
Okay, what's the price point on that?
$27.
Okay, so your online...
I believe it's $37, I'm sorry.
Okay. So online is about $37. What's the price point on The Missing Factor?
The Missing Factor is $97. We have a specialist. It's normally a $397 2-volume course.
Right.
But we have it on special now for $97.
And what's included in that?
It's a 2-volume course. That's the most comprehensive real estate course I've ever seen in my life.
And volume, so it's 2 paperback books, or?
Yeah, it's 2 perfect bound, beautiful books.
Excellent.
It's about 400 pages.
So, that's a substantial piece of work.
Yeah, it is.
Now, what do you do? You've got the product then. You've developed the product. What do you do for advertising? How do you start the ball rolling and getting the orders in?
The first thing I do is I go to my own list, which is real lucky. That's why I've lasted in direct mail so long. Right. I get a neat idea, and I test it. I have 500,000 people strong who are waiting to hear from me.
Fantastic.
So I can get a neat idea on Monday, and by 2 weeks from the following Friday, have a bundle of cash in my hand.
Wow.
And then I also go and rent other lists, that I know are good.
Uh-huh.
But there aren't many. I'm in a business that is really falling down. More people now, when they're looking to make money or they're looking to solve a problem, which is really what we're trying to do, is to find a problem and solve it. Like that's what Gout does, or making money does. People don't have money. You want to find a problem. You want to solve it. I'm also in a multi-level program that really helps save the country. You save on gasoline, and it cleans up the environment. And that's at gaspricerelief.com.
Okay.
It's a different kind of website for a multi-level program that I'm in.
Uh-huh.
And I'm also involved in mentoring others and writing sales letters and sales copy for others. So most of the time of my regular business is run without me. I'm not really required for it.
That's a nice problem to have.
I love it. Like you asked me once before what I do when I get up in the morning.
Yeah.
When I get up in the morning, it's great. I do my yoga exercise. I meditate. I live in a place that's probably one of the most beautiful subdivisions of Florida. We have a 17-room mansion.
Beautiful.
I have a separate apartment over my 3-car garage, which I have my office in.
Fantastic.
I go out. I take a walk with my dog. I either ride on my bike, take a while. just go talk to some people and then come up to work around 11, 12, see how everything's going, if there's any problems, and then go downstairs. I have a glass room that overlooks the most beautiful, beautiful tropical paradise you've ever seen, and I have my laptop down there and do whatever creative work, speak to my clients that I mentor. I believe strongly in having a mentor. It's helped me. I always have. I mean, right now, Dan Locke is my mentor when it comes to the Internet.
Cool.
There's always more to learn, and that's what makes life exciting.
So how do you go about then? You got your list, of course. You go to your list and you mail your list. Now, is this email or is this post?
That's all postal.
Okay.
I also collect names at my website, so I also have an email list as well. And today, the direct marketers who are not using email, the direct mailers, are really missing the boat.
So what do you, if you didn't have a list then, where would you go? Like, I'm thinking of somebody, for example, who's just starting out online or just starting out in business. They've come up with a great product idea, pretty much got to the point where, okay, now I've got to market it. And that's really where I find a lot of people that I've talked to, that's where the whole thing falls apart.
That's true, because you have to, I just forwarded you an email that I said, and maybe I could even read part of it.
Sure.
Because it really is so, encompassing in what I wanted to say here, because you have to learn something. When I became a dentist, I didn't just say I wanted to become a dentist, open up a box of dental tools, and then become a dentist. I mean, you follow what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
You have to do something, and you really have to learn your craft. Mm-hmm. I mean, you have to do it. And I wrote like an internet piece today because I was selling your membership site.
Right.
And I wrote it. Dear fellow entrepreneur and valued subscriber, I said, if you want to learn how to do anything, ask an expert. Lots of folks go out and buy turnkey websites and businesses and think they're going to make them wealthy. Nothing could be further from the truth. When I wanted to learn direct mail marketing over 20 years ago, I read all the books written by the pros and attended many seminars so I could perfect my craft. If you're promoting anything online, you may not have the time or resources to go out and hire all the teachers you can. My good friend and internet marketer extraordinaire is Terry Telford, whose motto is, if you do what you love, you'll never have to work a day in your life. Terry makes me an incredible but very limited offer. And I go on to speak about how I had to go to your membership site, and once I went to it and I started learning things, it was helpful. But when I went into direct mail, I looked in the magazines and saw who was running the biggest ads, called them up and asked, and you know what I found out? That they would all talk to me. I thought that no one would talk to me, that they would hang up on me. But I hired a mentor in direct mail, and when I got into the Internet, I hired a mentor there. And what I would say to you is anyone who comes in and wants to learn the craft should get a mentor.
Fantastic.
Because it really is the way to go. I mean, you could trial and error and lose your shirt. I was losing money on the Internet for years and years and years. I met a few people about 3 years ago that put me in the right direction. But when I hooked up with Dan Locke, it was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. And I'm not a kid anymore, but I'm still alive and kicking, and I want to be right on top of the heap.
Yeah.
And to do that takes work. And it also knows where to go. And if someone wanted to start in direct mail, I have a terrific mentoring program myself, and I teach people where to go to get the good lists, who does the good copywriting, who's the real deal. And you have to know that, because unfortunately in this business there are so many scoundrels who are so happy to take your money and give you nothing in return that it's a shame. And meeting a guy like you, for me, is like gold, or meeting a guy like Dan Locke was one of the luckiest days of my life.
That's
and
fantastic.
I feel that I could do that for so many people as well, or recommend them to people who can.
That's inspiring. Very inspiring. What could you, if you're going to be my mentor then, and I've developed a product, I have a book that I've written, I want to go out and I have several different markets that I could target. But mainly it would be the business opportunity people.
Correct.
What should I do first in my marketing?
First in your marketing is you better have a damn good sales letter.
Okay.
That would be the first thing. And most people go to some kind of a professional or something like that when they probably have it within them to do it themselves better.
Okay.
I'll give you an example. If you take a Madison Avenue guy who comes up with this slick ad for perfume or whatever and puts it in a magazine, they never code their ads or anything like that. They never know if they're good, they're bad, they're indifferent or whatever.
Right.
But if you take someone that's not a good copywriter, that knows how to talk, I would, like, for example, I'll just tell you, my first few attempts were very successful. I was not lucky, but I really, like I said, I knew how to speak to people and communicate. I studied communication. It was always important to me to communicate to people and to connect with people. So I would tell anyone to have their sales letter reviewed. That would be the first thing. You know, does it reflect what you're really selling? What's the hook? You know, are you getting the hook there? You know, you have to know when to put the takeaway in. You have to know what to do with bonuses. You have to know a whole lot of things. So the first thing I do is have somebody look at a sales letter. I would put down my own ideas, and I'd have somebody look at it. If you're completely novice at it, then you should hire a professional.
Okay.
That's what you should do. After that, it's a matter of having someone who has the experience to tell you which are the good lists or the bad lists if you're going into direct mail.
Okay.
Or if you should know about Google advertising if it's going to be on the internet. I also have ads that are print ads for my website. So there's a lot of way to advertise websites no matter what your budget is. You could have affiliates, that do all the work and help you. And I believe in affiliates again. I mean, this is I'm working on a project now that's going to be with all affiliates. It's something brand new, for me, rather earth-shaking and earth-shattering, but also something to help the planet. And what I would recommend is to go to people who know and pose the question and pay the price. They say, step up, oh, you discontented man. If you want something, just simply pay the price and take it. Cool. You can't have anything without paying the price for it. And I don't mean money. Sometimes it could be time, it could be study, it could be talking to people. There's a whole lot of ways of paying the price. But there is a price for everything in life.
Either time or money.
Right.
So if you've got a fairly good sales letter, then if you don't have a list of your own yet, you're going to want to develop a list. Would you go more towards online advertising, like with Google AdWords, or would you go with classified ads in specific magazines or direct mail?
At this time, if I was starting fresh today, I'd probably go right to the internet.
Okay. Why is that?
Because it's such a good way to go. I mean, it's so easy compared to, but not easy. It's electronic direct mail, like you say all the time.
Yeah.
And it's the new wave where people are going to come down and they're going to want to find a solution to their problem on the internet. Period. And my particular field of direct mail for BizOut is a dying field. There used to be millions of names that I could mail to in a quarter. Now, if there's 75,000 good ones, there's a lot. That's not a whole lot.
Wow.
So if you're a newbie, I would recommend that you go to the internet first.
Now, what about, as just kind of an afterthought that I had about the sales letter, do you have a formula that you used? You said you have to know when to use a takeaway, you have to know when to use bonuses. Is there a specific formula that I could follow?
Well, the only formula that I could say is I like to put people buy not because of reason. People buy because they just drawn into it, If reason kicked in, nobody would buy any of these BizOp offers for real.
Right. Because
they're all real surrealistic. So I like to get people into what I call a state of magical thinking.
Okay.
And I like to do that as fast as I can, like right from the headline, from the get-go. I want to get them into a state where they're now in a dream state, where they're not using their cognitive senses as much as they would.
Can you give me an example of a dream state headline?
Yeah. New York princess wants to release cash to those who want it.
Okay, does that not sound like a lot of hype, though?
Not if you read the letter. You know, it's something that's been working for 16 years. So, yeah, it does sound like a lot of hype. But you want to get them into a dream state. And that kind of does it to some people. You know, there were other ways. And here's another example is, there's a guy who came to me from England, and he was a cab driver and became very successful in direct mail in England. And then he came, you know, to this country.
Yeah.
And he wanted to more or less tell a story about what happened to him over there. And he was born in an orphanage. He was raised, you know, by strange people. He was adopted when he was older. He was chosen to go to an education that was non-collegiate. You know, he was going to be in a trade. In England, supposedly, they decide by the 6th or 7th grade whether you're, college material or not, and they decided he wasn't.
Right.
So he went ahead and he became a taxi driver, and one day his life changed when he got a piece of junk mail in the mail and read it and decided, hey, maybe he could try something like this. And I made a headline like, how a simple piece of junk mail turned a taxi driver's wrecked life into a ride down Easy Street.
Nice.
And that's something that people could relate to.
Yeah.
So it starts to get them into that state right away. You know, and then I say, finally reveal the junk mail secret that let me quit driving a cab and live the life of my dreams, so now you can too. And that puts people into a state where, hey, here's a taxi driver telling me this. I can relate to that. Let's see what else, you know. And then he says, my name is, you and I are probably a lot alike. You want to earn some extra money, maybe even get rich. I was that way too. You don't want to work that hard to do it either, the same with me. So we're putting them right there into that state where they don't want to work hard. I'm a taxi driver. I made the money. I could show you. If I could do it, you could do it. Now they're in that state.
Okay, right. So you've actually taken, you've got the headline, then you have a transition.
Right.
That brings them in.
So it's really not just the New York princess. There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
That's kind of written in an editorial style, and it looks like, if you see it in a magazine, it looks like it was placed there by the magazine, not
right.
by
So
the person.
You've got an advertorial.
Right. So that's the whole thing.
Very cool.
And
so
I try to get them into that magical thinking, because that's when people actually buy. You know, even cars and everything. They say these cars like Road and Track, when there's a red car on the cover, they sell double the amount of issues.
No kidding.
I don't know. But they do. They say a picture of a blonde girl, like on that New York princess.
Yeah.
We tried 3 different pictures, one of a brunette, one of a redhead, one of a blonde.
Yeah.
The blonde pulled them all 4-1.
Oh, isn't that funny?
You know? And so stuff like that. But there's a lot of stuff like that that you should know, that people should know. And
where can you find it? Where do you find out that kind of information so you don't have to go out and test it?
By going and finding a proper teacher, someone who's done it before. If you know that you see a name, call that person up on the phone. See if they'll talk to you. You know, find out who's good. Ask questions. Go and ask it. Seek it. I mean, I went after it with all my heart and soul. Nothing was going to stop me. And that's the way you have to be. You have to be relentless.
I think that's really the key. You just hit the nail on the head there, where no matter how good it is, you know, whatever it is that you're doing, regardless whether you're a really good copywriter or not, if you don't have the ambition and the drive and hold on to it like a pit bull, that you totally want it, you're probably gonna, you know, kind of let it go by the wayside as soon as some of the problems, you know, start hitting you.
Right. I mean, anyone who's sitting and waiting for it to be handed to them might as well go play the lottery.
Yeah.
Because they have a much, much better chance. But I knew that there were people out there successful, and I wasn't about to stop until I hit the top.
So what kind of, I mean, you've had quite a long career in the mail order business. What kind of challenges have you faced along the way as well?
Well, a lot of challenges. So I've had a lot of dry periods when I couldn't write.
Right.
I've had some periods when we had 911 was actually the worst.
Right.
And I had a very big operation at that time, 17 employees. We had 3 printing presses. We were doing our own books and everything.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, the phones went down for 7 weeks. Anthrax came along, and they were finding that in the mail.
Yeah.
I was holding up the mail. And that was the most major thing that I ever faced.
Right.
Almost went out of business at that particular time.
Oh, no.
But I dumped the inventory. You know, I dumped all of the big overhead.
Yeah.
And right now I'm working in my home. I have 3 employees, and we've cut things back a little bit, and I outsource a whole lot more stuff.
Right.
And I find that much more relaxing, much better, and, you know.
A lot more free time for yourself.
A lot more free time for myself.
I don't want to keep beating a dead horse here, Jeff, but well, I just want to go back to the sales letter, because I think that's extremely important that people can get an idea of kind of the little formula. I mean, you've already touched on it, where you've got a headline that really kind of, you know, smacks people in the head. You've got a little transition that brings them into basically the first paragraph of the letter, and from what you just read, you've really drawn people right into the letter instantly, and brought them onto the same side of the table as the person that's telling the story. And it's not, it doesn't seem like it's a sales letter. It almost sounds like it's more of a story.
That's right.
I'm a taxi driver, and here's what I found. You know, here's what's happening. Here's what I found. And, you know, maybe it can happen the same way for you. Let me tell you about what it is that happened.
Right. I'll give you just the example, too.
Sure.
It's like my headline for the Neil Hathaway eBay in Reverse. Mm-hmm. It says, eBay shocker. Sitting in a wheelchair, I earned $3,806 my first 24 hours. You may do better. I did it buying, not selling on eBay. And then it goes on, and it says a few things, but then he goes right into a story. He said, when I first showed my system to marketing guru Jeff Sands, a very successful publisher, he nearly died laughing. Then he tried my system and banked $6,750.65 his very first day. Then he literally begged me to let his company publish it. Hi, my name is Neil Hathaway, and I'm so excited I wish I can get out of my wheelchair and break dance, because I'm so delighted with what I'm about to share with you. What's the commotion about? Well, I'm just an old loser who spent almost 50 years of my life working the same back-breaking dead-end job. When I finally made it to the finish line and retired, all I got was a cheap Timex, a cupcake with a candle on it, and a swift kick in the pants. What was my job? I guess it was being an idiot. Most of us hardworking red, white, and blue citizens are being stripped down to our Fruit of the Looms and don't even realize it until we're too rusty and worn out to do anything about it. Okay, what was my job? I'll give you a hint. Every time you drive down the road and see those bright yellow and white stripes painted on the streets, I'm probably the Picasso that painted them. It was no walk in the park, especially on those blazing hot summer nights that made me feel like a strip of hot, greasy bacon sizzling in the frying pan. Those are his words.
That
just happens to be pretty humorous. And people can't stop reading it.
Because it's a story. It's a real-life story.
It's an absolutely real-life, 100% true story.
So, like you said, though, where do you put the takeaway in there? How does it fit in?
How does what? I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
The takeaway. You said that you have to know where to put in a takeaway.
Well,
and the bonus.
At the end, there's always only a limited number.
Okay, so a takeaway then is we've only got 1,000 copies, for example.
Right.
Okay.
Or something like when you were selling your sites, and you say the truth of the matter. Like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to do this.
Yep.
I don't want too many people competing with me, which is true. He told me. He said, you could do this, but I don't want to have all the competition in the world.
Yeah.
So do it till I stop. Until I say stop.
Okay.
And that's the answer. He said, I'm telling my publisher to sell as many of these as he can until I tell him to stop, because I don't want to create too much competition for myself. And there's the takeaway there. And
then where does the bonus come in before that or after that then?
It usually comes in a whole bunch of bonuses beforehand.
Okay. So you put in the bonus.
Sometimes afterwards. Always testimonials thrown in. always stuff like that.
Okay. Now, what if you have just come out with your own book right now? You've got it printed. You don't have any testimonials for it. How would you go about quickly getting some testimonials for your sales letter?
I'd send it out to my friends and people who really knew about it and have them read it.
Okay, and get their feedback from the book.
Right. I wouldn't ask them for one, but I'd know how to. They'd know what I want.
Okay. And what about the bonuses? What kind of bonuses would you put in with the eBay book?
Well, it's interesting because I like to put bonuses sometimes that people might want without, even doing the book. In other words, sometimes people buy things just for the bonus alone.
Right.
And here I give a whole bunch of different ones, which is interesting. It says, if you order this package within the next 72 hours, I'll fatten your package with two never before heard of bonuses on a special bonus CD-ROM that'll make your eardrums explode, valued at over $537. Bonus number 1, yours free. Complete information, step-by-step instructions on how to set up your own internet radio station to broadcast anything you wish worldwide for less than $10. Commercial advertisers are willing to pay stacks of cash to broadcast their commercial worldwide, and you'll keep all the cash because you'll own the station. Bonus 2, yours free, my secret weapon. I will release to you 2 unbelievable software packages that will allow you to cash in on what I'm going to teach you to buy on eBay automatically, with literally no work on your part. With my secret weapon software package, that's so easy to use, even a kid in 3rd grade with no computer experience can get it up and running in 5 minutes. These programs will put my system on autopilot for you and will even make you money while you snooze.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you've got one bonus that's related to the product that can increase the value of the product, and the other bonus that is within the kind of business opportunity field, but it's kind of an additional kind of plug-in bonus.
Correct.
Okay. Do you have kind of a system to figuring out what bonuses to use, or it's kind of what you have on hand at the time? Or?
Yeah, it's what comes to me,
Now, are the bonuses now, are they products that you bought, like private label rights to, or is it something that you've had from previous information that you've written?
It's the bonuses, you mean?
Yeah, for the bonuses.
Sometimes.
Sometimes
both? Not usually, but sometimes.
Okay. Now, what do you have, as far as, your business is, I would say, extremely successful compared to the majority of the businesses, in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think has been the biggest reason that you're successful when there's a lot of other companies just kind of fall by the wayside?
Persistence, and persistence. And looking for excellence in what I do. And honoring refund guarantees and giving the greatest customer service in the industry.
So what are you spending, as far as percentage-wise, what are you spending in advertising and direct mail as opposed, kind of in relationship to what you're bringing in? What would the percentage be?
About 35%.
Okay. And even when you're online, you still have like 35% expenses because of your overhead, or?
I would say it's less. But it depends, it depends. Sometimes, because I'm doing some print ads for my online, too. So it really varies, and I do some direct mail for my online also. Okay.
What are you doing? That's a good point there. What do you do in the print ad area? What are you doing offline to draw traffic to?
I place ads for, the different websites, the different offers. I place 1-inch, 2-inch ads in different magazines, the Hathaway Secret, the Easy Photo Cash, where people, just see the ad and go right to the website and check it out.
And where would you advertise those?
Money-making magazines, entrepreneur, money-making opportunities, home business opportunities, stuff like that.
Are those the names of the magazines, or?
Yes, they are.
Okay, cool. Do you have like a list or somewhere that you go to kind of dig up these magazines?
Actually, yeah. I also have what I call a coaching manual, which lists them all, and it tells people how to start a business from day 1 to day 31. If someone is a total novice, they can get that manual. One is a manual telling them what to do each day, how to register their business one day, how to set up a bank account, exactly what to do to make it legal. And the second volume is a list of all the publications that they could advertise in.
Oh, where is this? Where do you get this?
I offer that to a lot of my, it's one of the things I offer.
Is it something that we could go online and buy it somewhere, or that's...
No, actually, that's one thing. It's not online as of yet.
Okay.
But it's about to be.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, if I wanted to get it today, where would I go?
You just say, hey, Bill, Jeff, send me a copy.
Okay. Well, that sounds cool. Hey, Jeff, send me a copy.
Okay.
For anybody that's listening to the interview, though, how would they go about getting a hold of this?
All they have to do is send an email to the Palm Group at juno.com.
Okay, it's the Palm Group.
Right, at juno.com.
Okay.
The cost of the manual is normally $149.
Uh-huh.
For anybody who's listening to this interview, it would be $49.95 for both volumes. And I just need their credit card number, expiration date, security code, and their address.
Very cool. Thank you. So they've just secured a $100 discount right off the bat.
Yeah. And it's really pretty neat.
That's cool.
It gives you a real good way to start your business.
Excellent. Well, you've just given us an entire university course on direct mail. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you'd like to add before we wrap things up?
Nothing other than I say something very similar to you. I mean, do what you love, and you'll never have a bad day in your life. And I do what I love, and I'm pursuing my passion, and every day is a new adventure. And it's really exciting. There are sometimes there's failures, but as long as you keep swinging the bat, it's like a lot of people don't know this, but I'm going to tell you something. Do you know who holds the records for the most strikeouts in baseball?
Babe Ruth.
That's right. And you know why? Because he's the one who swung the bat the most. And most people don't remember him for that.
No.
People remember you for your successes, not for your failures. So if you want to be out there, be a winner, get out there and keep swinging that bat.
That is the perfect way to wrap things up. That's great. Thank you so much for your time, Jeff. I really appreciate it, and I think a lot of people are going to learn a great deal about getting their business working both online and offline.
My pleasure, Terry. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you very much. You've been listening to Terry Telford from thebusinessprofessional.com and Jeff Sands from The Palm Group. And you can get a hold of Jeff at thepalmgroup@juno.com. Or can we give out your phone number too, Jeff?
Sure, 386-677-8116. I offer some of the best mentoring and copywriting in the business.
That's awesome. Super. Thanks very much for being here. Thanks very much for your time.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You too.